state your name, your age, and the team you're racing for.
I'm Zack Nehr. I'm 24, racing for Project Echelon Racing on the road.
Amazing, Zack. And when you are not training or racing your bike, what do you enjoy spending your time doing?
Ooh, good question. Well, it's pretty basic, but I love watching cycling. I watch a lot of professional cycling. I follow a lot of professional cycling. It's also tied into my professional life because I write a lot about professional cycling. So I'm kind of around bikes all the time. I'm starting to work at a bike shop now, so kind of bikes all the time, every day.
Amazing. Yeah, you're involved writing some articles for, is it Cycling Tips, if I'm not wrong, and Cycling News?
Yeah, so now it's pretty much all the big ones. I started with Cycling Tips, then it was Velo News, and now it's Cycling News as well. So yeah, writing for the power analysis ones are the ones that I'm more often known for. Those are the ones that I do for Velo News.
Yeah, your history with being a cycling coach and writing is really coming in handy there. Now, Zack, to go back to your history with cycling itself, how long have you been racing bikes?
Probably 7 years now. I started back when I was 17. Yeah.
Amazing. And through those years of experience in racing, you've obviously developed some strengths. What would you say your key strength is? Are you a sprinter, a climber?
I'm probably more of an all-rounder, somewhere between medium climber and time trials. So not a pure climber, like an hour HC hill climb, not my thing, but 10, 20 minutes over and over for 4 hours, that's definitely my thing. And then long, hard time trials are probably my specialty.
So a bit of a puncher and with some TT specializing as well. Now to move towards virtual racing and your experiences with that, I've chatted to some of your teammates, and they named your name when I asked who's a key rider to look out for out there on the courses. So what would you say was your big introduction to virtual racing, Zack?
Yeah, so for me, I was actually probably one of the latest adopters of Zwift. I didn't ride Zwift for the first time until March 2020. And just through the summer, just kept doing more, loved it more and more. Through the fall, joined a virtual racing team and started doing some more big events. And then my power just kept going up and up, and I was doing better and better. And all of a sudden now, in a couple of weeks now, I'm going to be racing in the Zwift Premier League. So it's kind of crazy how far I've come since about a year ago.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a short history for all the results you've managed to rack up in your time on the virtual platforms. Now, to chat a little bit about Zwift and RGT, because obviously you have quite a bit of experience on both of those platforms, Zack. How do you personally alter your riding style and strategies when it comes to racing on those two different platforms?
For RGT, it's definitely more punchy, and the courses are very, very different on RGT. Zwift, you can kind of assume it's just going to be flowy all the time because there's none of that braking for cornering, and the climbs, it's just a little different with how the group behaves and everything. Whereas on RGT, if you're going up a climb, it's really going to be strung out and then over the top, like you got to be on that group. With Zwift, you can kind of stay in a group and maybe catch back on RGT. If you miss the draft, like you're just gone. And same thing with crits on RGT. In the corners, like you just got to know how to time it to take the inside, because if you get stuck on the outside, you could be doing 400 or 500 watts and you could be getting dropped if you're taking the wrong lines to the corners. So course recon is definitely something that I've paid a lot more attention to on RGT, where in Zwift, it's a very steady effort most of the time in those races.
Now, talking about just racing in general as well as virtually, you're quite experienced outside and indoors on RGT, and you've got some Zwift experience. And I also see here you have spent some time with Panaracer on the gravel circuits. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer racing inside or do you prefer racing outside?
I would say right now I kind of prefer racing inside.
Awesome. And in terms of your gravel racing history, give us a little bit of a background around that. How did that start?
Yeah, so gravel racing I just got into in the last 2 years maybe, and I was really thinking about it. And besides the hype, I was thinking about, for a rider like myself, this is something that's really good for me, just really long, hard, hilly races. And I've done a little bit of cyclocross. I've kind of liked that off-road feel. And I was like, putting all those together, like it sounds something that would be really fun and something I could be good at too. And I got in contact with the Panda Racer gravel team, and they gave me a shot to be a guest rider in a couple races with them in Kansas, and they put me through the ringer out there. I did some of the same gravel that the DK 200 used to be on, and out in Emporia, and it was some of the gnarliest gravel I've ever ridden. And I got a flat out there and learned how to fix that. So it was the full gravel experience, and I did quite well. So they invited me on the team, and then kind of been going since then.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Now, personally, myself, I enjoy riding gravel and I like to do it. And I've kind of integrated it quite heavily into my winter training plan. Have you sort of altered the way you train to accommodate gravel riding and indoor racing?
Yeah, so it's definitely something I've considered. With the winters here in Wisconsin, I would have to build up a pretty heavy duty gravel bike to be able to go out when there's so much snow and ice. I literally have to put snow tires on. So I haven't gotten to that point yet. But I do try to get out. If the roads are relatively safe and I can get out there, like if it's cold, I can deal with it, and the gravel bike can handle like rough terrain, so I know I can do that. And then the endurance is something that in the winter I know it's going to be important to keep that relatively high coming into the full gravel racing season, where we're planning on doing races that are 8, 10, 12 hours long.
Yeah, definitely, especially with Swift racing or virtual racing, these such short periods, it's difficult to build up the endurance. So let's move a little bit back to virtual racing itself. Obviously, you're quite good at it, but you do need some technology to assist you to be that good. Zach, what kind of setup do you run to perform your best?
So I have a Ceres H3 trainer. And full disclosure, Project Echelon is sponsored by Ceres. And then I also have their MP1 platform that kind of moves similar to how it would outside, just gives you a little more freedom of movement with that. In the first probably 2 weeks of using it, like I literally saw my power go up, and it just felt better to ride on that. And for my indoor setup, I got the TV for entertainment, and I got good headphones for music during races. I got 2 big fans to keep me cool during races, and I put my trainer like pretty close to the window, so in the winter I'll just crack open the window a little bit and it'll get cold in the room pretty fast, and that definitely helps for racing too.
Amazing. Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about the platform. Some people really like them, some people don't, but it seems to be very dependent on your riding style and how you pedal your bike. It's great to hear that works for you. Now let's move a little bit more towards the Cycling BC Virtual Cup that was just announced. So do you have any key personal goals for this last virtual series before we transition to more gravel racing and road racing?
My goal is to usually win most races. So the win at Redlands in the Echelon Racing Series in the pro field, that was really one where I fully realized like I am to that level now. I'm not just hanging on with these guys. I can like compete for the win with these guys. So I would say heading into this race series coming up in a few weeks, it's probably my goal to be on the top step of the podium.
Amazing. Yeah, you're quite good at the GC setups in the virtual racing world. How do you guys structure your team to help you get to the finish line first?
Yeah, so we have a pretty big roster of guys. We probably have 13 or 14 on the team and probably 6 in each virtual race, so it's always going to be a different mix. A lot of it does depend on the course as well. If it's a punchy course, but we have guys who are pure climbers, we can usually use those guys to go full gas on the climbs because it'll be harder for them on the flats, so they might not be there for the finish. But if they can make it full gas on the climbs, that's going to help out me because I'm someone who loves that repeatability, just being hard all day rather than doing just one huge explosive effort at the end. I'm good at just kind of going steady all day and going like a little bit harder at the end. And if everyone's tired from my team drilling it all day, that's going to be the perfect setup.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Now, chatting about those guys who are going to be doing the work on the front all day and then making some big attacks, who should we be looking out for out there?
So Eric Hill, our team director and manager and organizer of Project Echelon, I mean, he literally can do it all. He does everything. He can attack from the gun and he can go full gas on the climbs. He can sprint. He can go in breakaways. He can do everything. He's always going to be active for sure.
To wrap it up, I'd like to ask a quick, fast question. Obviously, when you're riding inside, you mentioned that you do like to have some music to drown out the suffering and the pain. So when there's 400 meters to go, you got to get out of the saddle, do that sprint, but you're super bonked. What's that one song that'll come on and get you across the line?
Ooh, probably Ultimate by Denzel Curry. That's a good one.
Amazing. Yeah, that's good to hear. There's a pretty thorough mix of music genres out there, and that's it for you. That's kind of all the questions I've got for you today, Zach. Thanks a lot for chatting to me today, and we'll see you out on the race courses.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Really looking forward to the race series.